Welcome to video 19. What to do? Surrender! Stop right there, hands in the air. Hello friends, thanks again for being here. In my last video, I talked about not needing to do anything to be saved, to be provided for, to live a longer or healthier life, to be who we are. Why mustn't we do anything? Because it's already done on earth as it is in heaven. Don't believe it? Well, that's a problem, isn't it? Belief does not make something true or not, but it can block the truth as well as lies out of our awareness. God's creation was done before time seemed to begin, and it was a perfect creation with us as part of it. Better learn to start believing in truth versus lies, because the truth, in truth, doesn't hurt. It saves. And ooh, it feels real nice too. Better than any holiday could ever. Today's topic is, if there is anything to do, it is to completely, hands in the air, white flag waving, drop the weapons to the ground, surrender. In truth, this is the stopping of doing something instead of doing something. So it is the reasonable next idea we're introducing to our collective mind, which is actually one. We expand on the idea that we seem to have gotten ourselves into an unreal and impossible situation that we seem to keep perpetuating by believing in and engaging with the extremely dense web of illusions that are occupying our mind's consciousness or awareness. This thick web of lies is not really taking up any space in our minds, because how can what's not possible be anywhere when it doesn't exist? And how can what doesn't exist take up any space? This is the question to ask ourselves. Can this world be real? The answer is no, because God did not will it. However, the ego, which likes misery, perpetuates it by having us look at the nonsense as if it were there to see. It is hell-bent, literally, to make sense of it, thereby proving its existence. If it's not there, how can we prove it? No matter how hard the ego may try, it will never be able to prove the impossible is true. Sometimes what it will do to prove lies are real is it tries to be noble and charitable, caring, the hero of the impossible dream, dashingly fixing the many, many, many sad and unfortunate problems that the world brims over with. This engagement, or conversely, the engagement of being the evildoer, causing the many, many, many sad and unfortunate problems, perpetuates the nightmare of illusions, because by interacting with the unreal world in our imagination, we convince ourselves that it's real, treating it as if it were. How can it be unreal if we spend so much time dealing with it, right? Well, the truth of the matter is that the world's impossible roots are rooted in false, evil soil. I say evil because God has nothing to do with it, and the flowers of its ugly plants are indeed poisonous to the soul. All of us have a different breaking point, and when we reach it, we take one of two routes. We either give up or we look for a different solution. There's only one solution to the world, the giving up of it, not by dying, because that's not possible, but by choosing the alternative to hell, heaven. And we can make that choice. How can we give up something that we didn't make? Well, if God didn't create it, then who made it? It wasn't an imaginary evil force, for the opposite of God cannot exist. God created everything that is and nothing that isn't, and God cannot create unlike himself, for what would be the source of its existence if it were not God? Gee, that's a really good question, isn't it? God is the only source, and thus he can create only like himself. This is the truth. This is also what makes oneness true, and this is also what makes love real. Earlier, we mentioned that we must surrender, but we are completely petrified to do that due to the belief in hell, which we just debunked a few sentences ago. The most hellish idea that can exist is the fear that the opposite of God can exist. It doesn't. So what's next? We must trust, T-R-U-S-T, in God. Sure, of course, you cannot trust the world. We know that. But God is not the world. It's perfectly safe and completely natural for us to trust God. In fact, at the deepest levels, we not only trust him, we can't see any separation from him at all. So we already have surrendered before we ever lifted our defenses against him. Yet, we seem to remain in hell. This is because we need to decide on God, though there are no alternatives, in our conscious mind by our own free will, and mean it 1000%. God is not mocked. He knows if we want him, and reality and happiness, because when we do, we don't toy with the other choice, even if it doesn't exist. We believe we have what we think we want already. Time to realize that we don't want pain. Time to believe that pain is not a part of life. Time to surrender to the only source of peace and happiness and eternal life, and the only means by which to have the happy fact of a happy reality be shown us so we can see it. We must choose it by wanting it completely. Reality is an all or nothing proposition. We can't have heaven with a little bit of hell. It's either all of heaven or all of hell, for they are 100% incompatible, the only seeming choices to choose from, and cannot both be accepted at the same time. And vacillating between them must also be something that you finally get sick and tired of. When we are sick and tired of being sick and tired, the choice of God and only God begins to appear as the only choice that makes any sense at all. And indeed, it's the only choice there is to make. When you are choosing between everything and forever, choosing nothing and never begins to finally become realized as a non-choice. And so it is. Or should I say, isn't. Just remember this, though. We must first believe it to see it, not the other way around. And to believe it, we must want it. What do we really want? I assure you it's not hell. What the ego we invented does is to paint the lips of a skeleton with lipstick to try to make it beautiful. But hell will never be pretty. What we really want is to be what God created us to be, not what we thought might be better. The alternative to God is not only not possible, the idea of it is hell in a bucket, and as scary as the worst nightmare possible, because that's what it is. Complete, both hands in the air, drop your weapons, white flag waving, groveling on our knees, surrender. It's time to surrender your false and feeble little tiny self to your true and glorious self. It's for our own good, our joint sanity, and the restoration of our right mind, at one with God and all creation. Why must we grovel? Well, it's humility. It's a way of saying, "Oh God, I realize now that I am your subject and that I have wasted time and deluded myself, attempted to attack my own glorious reality that I share with you, and caused a bunch of unnecessary nothingness, which is folly at best and hell at worst. I realize now it is you who are my author and my creator, and that it is my job to allow you to be that in my mind and to not reject reality any longer. I love you and I want you, and I accept responsibility now to fulfill the role assigned me by you for my eternal happiness and peace. It's not that God would punish us. We punish ourselves, and God wouldn't have that be possible, so it isn't. Pain is imagined as much as is the entire world and universe and time, since they are all needed as part of the dream for the dream to even seem possible, which it isn't. God created eternity and heaven, and that is all He created. We are part of it forever. There's nothing we can do to change that, because there's nothing to do. It's done. What's done in nightmares affects reality not, nor does it have any effects. And this is what we must realize. Fear has no source, so it has no effects. If we see any effects from what has no source, then that can very well be our best gauge by which to label the world we believe we are seeing as false. In heaven, every aspect is happy and at one with each other. There is no conflict, there is no disappointment, pain, sickness, or death. And we remain in heaven, where God put us. We remain as God created us, because once God does something, it's done forever. This is our reality. Why not accept it? If you say, well, it's because I see all this ugliness before my very eyes. Remember, seeing is what we want to believe because we believe it's there to see. Begin to believe God and believe that the moment you realize you want it, you have it because you could never lose it. Don't doubt it. Don't question it. Don't try to understand it. Just accept it and enjoy it. It's there for us. That's what we are here for. No mind can conceptualize God and our oneness with Him, and God could never give us the burden of an impossible task. If we want peace, which we do, if we want happiness that never ends, which we do, then this is the ticket and only this. Just in case we derailed on the idea a few paragraphs back, this we are talking about is heaven. This is reality. This is now and forever, and you cannot be excluded, no matter what, because there's nothing you can do about it. The only this there is must be heaven, because it's the only thing God created. If you think you see something else, you have judged it amiss. This is why, time and time again, we have been advised to not judge. We simply can't do it. Truth is beyond judgment, and the moment you try to judge it, you have reduced it to fantasy only. You have no choice but to be in heaven right now, no matter what you believe, and blessed beyond belief, beyond judgment, beyond concepts, and beyond your deepest fears and wildest imaginings and hopeful desires. We are beyond everything imaginary and only fully alive in the heart of God and as God forever. Amen. Pensive thought to ponder. Why do we believe in nothing and opposites? Can there really be opposites? Even in this world, opposites don't have gradients. They are diametrically opposed. Gradients are imagined only. Positive and negative, day and night, everything. If it appears that there are gradients or a phasing between things such as day and night, what you are really seeing is the light still reflecting in the sky and the clouds still not having received the night. It does not mean that the night has not come. Same goes for the morning. The moment the sun comes up, the day is here. The sky may not be fully bright, but that's only because we are seeing things that have yet to be illuminated fully. This is the same as our reality. Let's realize that the moment we asked to be saved from hell, God answered. It's done. God knows not of time or delay. Now, let's not look at the clouds and the part of the sky that has not been yet fully illuminated. Let's realize that the sun has come and wiped away the night. The same is true for our minds. They are healed. They cannot be healed a little bit. They are fully healed. Let us accept that and not argue with God. That's just too silly to bear. See you in my next video.